Well, good morning. It's really early in the morning. I am really not awake yet, but I'm waiting for a text that a little baby is awake, and then I will go into the house and love on some cute little grandchild that I did see last night, but he was sleeping. So, just a recap of some of the things that we have talked about so far, and what they should be challenging us, should be reminding us that we should do, which is what anything we read in the Bible should challenge us to make changes in our life. So we're talking about Judges, and we've looked at the horrific nature of evil, and foreign gods required a different mentality than the holy God. Foreign gods required them to do things that were totally off the wall. And it wasn't the foreign gods telling them that. It was them devising ways to think they were pleasing something that didn't exist. And when we do that, we get really off track pretty quickly. So just a reminder, they did not obey God when God told them to go and annihilate the Canaanites. They didn't do it. When we don't do the things that God asks us to do, there's consequences. We do it with our kids all the time, or we used to do it with our kids all the time. We don't kill the Canaanite gods in our lives. We just let them hang around for a while because they're harmless, we think. We don't really acclimate to the culture, but we don't separate ourselves from the culture. And eventually, if we don't separate ourselves, we will acclimate. And that's what they did. They kind of just pitched their tents close, and then they had everybody marrying each other, and then they were part of the family, and then they didn't realize they were involved. We are told to be separate, and we're told to be holy. We're also told to be a leader, be who people follow, but that leader also pointed them to God. So Israel also did what was evil, and they abandoned God time and time again. And it was the little things that they abandoned. It was the time with God. It was the serving others. It was accepting things that God had said were intolerable. And then we were reminded by Ehud, the left-handed man, who God used things that we don't think are big deals in our lives, but God uses left-handed, and we all have the left-handed things in life that we don't think are important. We don't think we can do anything because, and we make excuses, and God simply used his left-handedness to annihilate a very evil king. And Shamgar, that was 22 words, and then Israel had peace, and he brought his people back to God by what he did in 22 words. What's our life? What are we doing in our lives to bring people back to God? That at the end of our life, that is what is said as us, that we pointed people to God. Not that we did things, we accomplished things, whatever we do in life that we think are important, that are mostly earthly and burn and are gone or we give them to Goodwill. But what is the 22 words in our lives that we are really doing that make a difference in people's lives? And then we had Deborah. Deborah just sat at a palm tree. All she did is sit at a palm tree and served people in their needs. She listened to them. She gave them advice. She inspired people to be with her because of her wisdom. And that only comes from being in the presence of God. There's absolutely no other option. And Jael used what she knew. She was a nomadic wife. She pitched tents. She hammered in tent spikes. They also moved their tents away from the Kenites. So what is God waiting for you to move your tent away from that's not healthy for you, that's not good for you, that you shouldn't be there, but you just don't want to pick up your tent and move? Well, God used Jael in something that she did every day. She tore down tents and moved tents. And those are just some things that we've talked about in the first few chapters. But the biggest thing is the last chapter that we talked about with Deborah praising God and writing down the things in life that God has done for her and them, and rejoicing about it. Rejoicing in the things that sometimes we think are, well, I traveled 7.5 hours last night. Well, I really only traveled 7, because half an hour was either rest areas, or trying to walk, or filling up with gas, or waiting at Culver's because I don't know what their reasoning was. The drive-thru was full. I'll give them that credit. But I drove through ridiculous rain. At least one accident. We had to wait and drive around. Am I praising God today and writing a song about the safety that He kept me He kept me free from accidents, kept me free from car troubles? And am I writing a song today and praising God for that? Actually, I'm going to go in. I just got the text that somebody is awake, so I'm going to go in and love on this little baby. But remember that God has you in a place for a purpose, but He also needs you to act and to do, and not just sit under the palm tree, but to listen to people, to serve them, and to go into battles. Have a great day, guys.